Welcome to Oh Hell No with Nicole.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Oh Hell No podcast. Today I have Neko Sparks. He is a writer, filmmaker, and entrepreneur. Thank you for being here, Neko. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So we are going to talk about Chosen Kin. That is, is it a film or what would you call it? Because it's on Amazon Prime. I'm not sure. Is it a series?
Yeah, it's a digital series. So what it is it's we've shot 2 seasons, and they're short format shows, 10 episodes, but we will be moving to a full series sometime next year.
Okay. So you wrote Chosen Kin, right?
I did.
Awesome. So how did Chosen Kin go from your computer or your notebook onto Amazon Prime? Can you tell us how that happens?
I'm really a comic book nerd by nature. So, and I had worked in film for quite a bit. I had done another film and sold it to Sony. And so the next thing I wanted to do was try to tackle a superhero project that, reflected the diversity that's more realistic of the demographics of this country. So we sat down, we wrote it out, we put out a test series to see how it did, and it came out pretty well. We worked on all the special effects, kind of did everything in-house with the talent that we had access to, and we put it up on Amazon Prime just to see how it would do, and the numbers have been phenomenal, ever since it debuted.
Yeah, I looked at it. It looks amazing. My husband loves that stuff. He watches all of those type of like sci-fi, I don't even know what to call it, but all of those series that are on that are like that, he loves that stuff. And then I get roped in. Yeah. Sitting there watching it. I'm like, what's happening? What is she doing? Who's that? So it's really interesting.
Absolutely.
So what were you doing before you started writing this show or during the time that you were writing it? What else do you do?
By profession, I write and do a lot of editing and I do consultations with a lot of different independent film companies. So it's kind of what I do anyway. Mm-hmm. It's just that comic books was a new extension of what we did.
So what is the difference between a filmmaker and a producer?
A lot of the times a filmmaker can be the writer-director, mm-hmm. the one that brings the vision to the screen, whereas the producer is kind of overall. He or she also makes sure that the film gets to screen, but they don't necessarily have to be creative. They might just bring money or talent, or other resources to the table. So I think that's the distinction, is that the filmmaker is ultimately the director or the writer that gets their vision onto the screen.
Okay. So when you were younger, what did you think that you were going to be doing when you grew up?
Wow, I just knew I was going to be a doctor. Like I just knew it. I was a doctor from jump. I went into the Army and I was a evacuation medic, mm-hmm. and I did the MCATs and got accepted to medical school. I worked in the medical field, after I graduated from high school and just prior. And then after my Army stint, I decided, maybe I don't want to do medicine. So I went back to school again and got a degree in anthropology and economics and, kind of switched directions.
Wow, that is so interesting. So what was it that made you feel like, being a doctor wasn't for you anymore? Do you even remember? I think if I hadn't gone to the Army, that I would probably be a doctor today. It was just a real traumatic experience, and when it's somebody that you're close to and you're in certain situations out in the field, it really has a different effect on you than I think it would if I was in a hospital setting dealing with patients that I really had no connection to. So after you did the anthropology degree, what led you into filmmaking and writing? How did that happen?
So after I did my anthropology degree, I lived in Mexico for 2 years. I studied the devaluation of the peso. And, I've always been really curious about other cultures. So I worked
doing a little bit of work for a guy that was with National Geographic, and they would just go everywhere in film, and I was hooked. I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to tell stories, and I want to tell them from a different perspective.
Oh my gosh, isn't that crazy? When you look back, isn't it just crazy how everything just like pieced itself together for you to be where you are today?
Yeah.
That is
Yeah,
amazing.
it really is.
I love that. How did the idea come to you for Chosen Kin?
Again, it was like, I liked what Vin Diesel did in like the Fast and the Furious franchise of films.
Mm-hmm.
Like he had this formula, like where he had people from all different walks and races of life, and they got along, and the films were successful, and they told good stories. And I thought, yeah, well, why can't we do this for the comic book world? Well, now we see it with Wonder Woman and Black Panther, but 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, when I started Chosen Kin, it wasn't there. You didn't see this amount of diversity in those kind of characters, and my son is a comic book head like me, so he's like, I think all kids, regardless of their gender or their race, they should have superheroes that they can look up to.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you super excited about the Black Panthers movie?
Are you kidding me? What? Yes. I can't wait. I told my wife, Thursday night, I'm there.
I know.
I bought my tickets like 2 months ago.
Oh, wow. That was smart. Yeah. I should have did that too, now that I'm thinking about it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So, are you in the movie too, Chosen Kin? Do you make appearances in there?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I play one of the characters in there. Okay. And it's a lot of fun because I actually acted. I started acting before I did my first, filmmaking job. So it's kind of nice marrying the two together. But it gets difficult at times. Like times I want to just fire myself and I want to get out of here and pull somebody else in. So it can be a challenge sometimes, producing and being in the film at the same time.
Yeah, I could just imagine. What advice would you give to young filmmakers or aspiring filmmakers based on your experience?
I would just say, just jump in and do it. Like with technology, anybody with a nice Samsung or an iPhone can literally go out and make a decent looking movie. It happens all the time. And I think it's important to tell stories from all different, aspects of life. So I would say just jump in. There's nothing that's stopping you right now.
Right. How do you feel about the different platforms that are being created? Like, I realize that now they have like a Facebook. I don't even know what it is. It's like you could watch shows on Facebook and all of these different platforms. Do you feel like it's very competitive? It's oversaturated? Do you feel like it's a good thing because then there's all these different places that people who do want to make films can go to? What are your thoughts on it?
You know what? I love it. I'm going to date myself a little bit, but back when I was coming up,
Mm-hmm.
You had like a VCR and you had maybe 5 channels until MTV came out. So it wasn't a whole lot of choices, for the vast amount of people, not only in this country, but globally. And now, even in my situation, we have a very successful show on Amazon, but Amazon is only in the US and in the UK. So it's like, how do we reach our viewers and all our fans in these other countries? And so with all these different streaming platforms on, you're able to reach a broader market and tell the story that really want to hear that story or that are really interested. So I think it's a good thing because it's definitely leveled the playing field in Hollywood, and it's kind of shifted from that old boys network to being more that anybody can come in, and as long as they've got good product and they can tell a good story, they have a chance of making it.
Yeah, that's definitely true. So what's most important to you with regard to your work as a filmmaker and a writer?
I think the most important thing is telling entertainment stories or entertaining stories in a manner that they're not, over the top preachy,
Mm-hmm.
but they do, some redeemable, social values in them, or, some, they're sending some type of message. They're just not mindless entertainment that's thrown out there.
Okay. So I Sparked Studios. Is that your business?
It is. It's a company I started, I don't know, about 2.5 years ago. And what we're doing with Iceberg is we have a horror channel and a comedy channel, and we have an action channel, and we have a motivational self-help channel. Like, we have all these different brands or genres that I've been interested in, that we're able to set up these various channels and reach different markets in a cost-effective manner. So it just allows us to play a little bit more.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. So where do you want to see that go in the future?
Ideally, it's starting to grow. So we're just doing a project that we're moving up in the Hollywood level. So we're starting to do some A-list, bigger budget projects. But the idea is to build the library and then hopefully get absorbed into a bigger company and be able to tell the same kind of stories we're telling on an even wider, larger budget level.
Nice. So do you have any other passions that you want to explore, or do you feel like this is your purpose?
Right now, I think I'm doing what I was meant to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, I live, eat, and breathe this stuff. I don't do anything else. I do martial arts and I box, but outside of that, this is all I do.
Wow, that's awesome. So is there anything that you have done that people told you that you would never be able to do, like in your professional work?
Yeah, that's funny. So it's always like that. And you know how it is. Like, when I first came into the game and started doing, rap videos, and I got a bunch of people together, where I grew up in Denver, and Scream was out or something. Yeah, Scream was out at the time. And I'm like, wow, like, I think we can do a Black version of Scream. So I got all these people together, non-actors, my brother, just, my boys from the block, and we made this movie, and we're like, we're going to put it out and just, see what it does, and if we can make anything of it. And lo and behold, we put it out and sent it out to a distributor, and it was successful. But in that same vein, it kind of pigeonholed me as a filmmaker in terms of what I could do. I was kind of stuck with that. Okay, you did this, so your next project has to be urban or a comedy or, et cetera. So what I had to do is kind of reinvent myself. And then I leaned back on my, kind of my anthropology training, and I wrote a very high budget film with diverse characters, a lot of science, etc. And I put it out on the studio round. And it was something that, I was told that I wouldn't be able to go from one genre or being pigeonholed in one genre to another, that, I was able, thankfully, to do.
Wow. That's good. Well, congratulations to you. What is the most challenging?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem. What is the most challenging part of this business that you're in?
Up till now, it's been the financing, really finding the financing to get a project done. However, I think after you have some success, I think that kind of takes care to have to, before you had to go, get numerous, studio executives to sign off on a project. Now you can just raise money and, put the project out yourself. It's become much easier. So I think a lot of the hurdles that were real headaches in the beginning, they don't exist anymore.
Yeah. And what do you enjoy the most about what you do?
I think the creative process is the most. My first love is writing. That's what I really like to do. But to watch those words, come to screen, that's a whole nother feeling in itself. So I would say that once we hit the set and we start that creative process, that's where it's at. That's the fun part.
Okay. All right. So this is the Oh Hell No podcast. So in this podcast, I always like to ask people about their Oh Hell No moments. I want you to share something with us that's happened along your journey that has, taken you back a little bit, where you're like, oh, hell no, this really didn't just happen to me. Or, it could be a positive thing or it could be a negative thing. It just depends on what happened.
Yeah. Let me think. All right, I got one. My Oh Hell No moment was I had a script. I went through the WGA's writing program, and I got a lot of meetings after the script. So one of my buddies, he's at an agency, and he sent one of his agents, because I wasn't represented, to a studio meeting, and immediately everybody came in and started talking to the agent as if she was the writer, and then turned around and asked me if I could go get coffee for everybody. So that was my oh hell no moment.
Yeah.
Really?
a
Did
big
that just happen?
that's a big oh hell no moment. Oh my
It was
gosh.
kind of funny, but like, yeah, it was major. It
Yeah.
was major. But funny enough, one of the producers that was in that meeting, he's a good friend to this day. So you just never know. It's the culture.
Yeah, I'm sure. So please tell us how we can watch Chosen Kin and how we can keep up with all things Neko Sparks.
Beautiful. Okay, so you can watch Chosen Kin if you just go to Amazon and you put in Chosen Kin Origins, or you go to chosenkin.com. You can watch the show from there. Even if you don't have Amazon Prime, we're part of a new program that allows non-Amazon Prime members to watch the show without ads. And anything that we'll be doing in the future, we have a new show called The Woods coming out. I have a new film that I shot in Sweden and Norway last year that's coming out. Those are the information regarding those films will all be on iceworkedstudios.com.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for giving us this information and sharing a little bit of yourself with us today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
No problem.